kind of fried my back in the vent pyramid right now. One of those little tunnels up there. And we're coming up to the vent pyramid. The vent pyramid is really, really interesting because it has this curious angle change in the structure of the pyramid. And the story is that the architects started with more grandiose idea and then changed it. I find that a little bit hard to believe. If you had the ability to build something like this, you would surely know what you're doing. These are massive projects, massive undertakings. The other thing that is really fascinating here is all of this flint. This material here. This is all over the place. Look at this. Look at the flint here. Look at this flint. What is up with this? Look at this. Look at all this flint down here. The whole area is covered with flint. This is very, very strange. So later in my trip, I find layers of gray flint embedded in the limestone everywhere at the Valley of the Kings, near Luxor, Egypt. I didn't know what it was at first, but I recognized it as something that was really unusual. I thought it may indicate a cyclical, catastrophic environmental event pattern or something to that effect. But later I found out that flint apparently is a precipitate of limestone. Under some conditions, layers of flint develop in the strata. As you can see as I'm walking into this Egyptian tomb, the walls contain stripes of this gray flint that occur at remarkably regular intervals. Flint is a 7 and about as hard on the Mohs scale of hardness as granite is. But limestone, at a 3 or 4, is much softer and could be easily carved by its harder offspring. This could possibly be a clue as to what was used to shape the limestone in this particular pyramid. This was the only pyramid I saw these piles of flint on. And as you can see, the flint is also rounded, indicating that it was on the surface and exposed to erosive forces like rivers and water. Unlike the gray flint at the Valley of the Kings, this is red flint and may be associated to the red limestone that was used in the nearby Red Pyramid. It's a windy day. Now here we can see, compared to the Red Pyramid, which is just right over there, So here I'm at the Red Pyramid. You can see this is all limestone here, but like you can see the immense. Look at the erosion on these surface here. And this is after all this. All of the casing stones have already disintegrated. So I don't know how old that is. So come over here, and you can see the condition of the limestone is nowhere near as eroded. Look at that. Look at that angle up there. Look at how sharp that is, how flat that is. And also note here, it's very, man, it's windy. Note the sections of erosion here. I mean, there's areas that are essentially perfect and uneroded, and areas where it's almost like there were strikes to this, but probably not. Maybe this is. So I want to just take a quick little pause here because something I didn't see when I was there, but upon analyzing my video footage, I noticed some really interesting things on the surface of these casing stones, these outer casing stones, and that is the number of modifications and repairs to these stones. There is so many of these. As we move through, this looks like maybe an overcut down there. Over here on the far side. More here. Another one up here. So this is just a small portion of the much bigger surface of the outer casing stones on the bent pyramid. And yet you can see these really interesting repairs that were done. So what does that mean? Different grades of casing stone here, limestone on here. Now, as I walk along the west side of this amazing structure, I'm struck by the difference in attention to both the highly refined exterior casing stones and the much more thrown together interior blocks that make up the bulk of the pyramid. They are large, but probably less than 5 tons each, and could have been moved much easier than blocks we've seen elsewhere. On the interior, there are also highly refined limestone blocks that seem to be airtight in their construction. So there must be a sandwich, so to speak, of tightly fitting interior blocks, then loosely assembled blocks quickly piled and mortared together, and then carefully fitted exterior casing blocks that were incredibly integrated and attached onto these much less crafted middle blocks. As we come up to the southwest corner, there are some really interesting things to see here. The southwest corner is a great place to get an up-close inspection on the way the casing blocks fit together. as well as the way they are integrated into the massing blocks behind them. The first thing I saw in this corner was this strange flaking on the surface of the casing stones. This actually looks like the builder may have used a thin-set mortar to weld these blocks tightly together. This could have been made easily from ground-up limestone and some potash to form a cement. Brushing this onto the surface between the tightly fitting blocks would further create a water-resistant surface that would have only gotten stronger as it got older. And this is the corner of the bent pyramid here. Underneath the casing, it is much rougher, as you can see. It's very quickly put together. As you make your way around this corner and to the south of the bent pyramid is the Het Ferris satellite pyramid. Although it looks pretty rough on the outside, it has a really nice, undamaged, and well-constructed interior that we'll be taking a closer look at in an upcoming video. The accuracy that these structures were put together is just mind-bending. This side has been pretty heavily damaged, but this bent pyramid is one of the only pyramids in Egypt or in the world that still has much of its casing stone on it. Take a closer look, but you can see as I move here the accuracy of this pyramid. The line is incredible. And this most likely was done in situ, meaning they put the blocks up and then they cut this angle. How sharp that angle is. And this is for thousands of years, earthquakes and lots of damage and erosion. I was at the other corner of the bent pyramid, and I noticed piles of this red flint, and I walked along the edge here of the pyramid of this side, and I looked out and there was nothing out there. And then I come over here, and again on this corner is a proliferation of this red flint. You can see it's everywhere, and it's just here in this spot. And maybe if I go up on the side here, you can see. I'll look back. Also, something I didn't notice until I reviewed my footage was a possible remnant from the builders. It looks like a symbol that could be indicating the location of the most outside corner block for this particular course using some red dye. Interestingly, this would indicate the northwest corner of a Western building culture, yet this is the southwest corner. What does this mean? It's kind of windy here. Let's see if I'm going to climb up on this corner of this pyramid here. The backside of the bent pyramid, and there's another little entrance or something going on down here. It looks like it was excavated. I don't know. It looks like it. It's hard to tell if it was. Now this looks original. It doesn't look like it's been closed up. Check this out though, man. Look at the seams on this thing. Look at how tight these things are. Look at how tight that is. What is up with that? Look at that. It's a seam right there. That's a block, and that's a block, and this is where they meet together. That's where they meet. They look so rough from the outside. But for some reason, the fitment on these pyramids and on these blocks is so incredibly tight. It kind of boggles the mind. We are at the base of the bent pyramid, and you can see these blocks are pretty darn large. They're put together pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, theoretically, yeah, you could put this stuff together pretty quick. But the trick is then, how do you shave it off so it's perfect? It's at a perfectly flat angle there. All right, well, we're gonna go in this smaller pyramid here. We got some exclusive access because we are friends with the guard. So again, here I'm at the other corner, and on the ground around the bent pyramid is all this red flint. Red flint everywhere. It's a big piece. So we are at the eastern entrance, side of the bent pyramid. It's desert all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, basically, all the way across the top of Africa. This is essentially the start. So here at that pyramid. This is what the pyramid, bent pyramid, looks like. Surface here. Pyramid here. Yeah, look at that. How tight these are fitted. This is the crazy thing, is how these are matched. How this is matched along here. Look at how tight that is there. Much of the work here is matched. Look at this. Look at this. This is not straight, and yet somehow this is matched. How? How was that done? Long one. Longy. So about halfway down into the bent pyramid here, and it's interesting, we've been discussing whether or not you could put a sarcophagus down. Now this one has been opened up. Most of these passages are very square. This one has been widened. But it's quite a haul down. It's quite a haul down. It's about, I'd say it's about 100 and maybe 100 meters. 100 meters down at an angle of about 30 degrees. But the interesting thing, again, is this. I'll show you. So here we are in about halfway down the widened passageway. Just wanted to draw everybody's attention to the accuracy here of the joinery here. Look at that. I know, I keep going there. Keep going there. Look at that. That is, this whole pyramid inside is essentially airtight. That's essentially what we got here. We have an airtight structure. Nothing is getting in or out of this. These are hermetically sealed
Quick note here,
structures.
as you can see, there's a discolored darker layer indicating a very strong possibility that some type of thin-set mortar was used in between these limestone blocks.
Okay, I just came down from that inside the bent pyramid here. Each pyramid is got its own interesting characteristics, but they all have this corbelled ceiling which displaces and creates an open space for whatever reason. You know, I don't know why you would need an open space when you have a hole that's about 1 meter by 1 meter. But here I am, going up this, going up the stairway here. Man, my legs are fried from that descent. Whew. Let me come up into this space here. Yeah, look at that. And then we have these spaces here. Oh, that's interesting. What is this? What is this material? Oh, so that's some kind of grout or cement. I wonder if that was when that was applied.
All pyramids are different in their construction materials and floor layout. Yet they have simple squared access tunnels of about 1 meter square, and these corbelled spaces that allow for vertical movement from one level to another. I believe this has to do with the practical issue of clearing construction debris that would possibly fall into these spaces and need to be removed. A shaft would get clogged up and be impossible to clear out, where these corbelled galleries would allow for easier removal of any construction debris.
This corbelled area is severely damaged. So normally this would be coming across here. So there's a lot of damage in here. Why there would be so much damage in this area, I wonder. Could it be compressive forces from the exterior of the pyramid pushing down on it and fracturing this corbelling? And then there's some circular pieces there. Howdy.
Hi.
Thank you. Gracias. Hey. Yeah, again, what are these? Okay, so this is bracing. Here, so they put the end in there, and you could see, then they would push that in and lock that in. So some kind of bracing. Oh, what do we have here? So yeah, so we're quite up there. I thought it was 200 feet. No, it's not 200 feet. I'd say maybe at the most 100 feet
inside here. And we're gonna go in this hole. This is probably the original size hole, and this is less than a meter across. Okay, so, oh yeah, here we go. Up the, well, that is why. So on my return trip down into that dark, excavated passageway, I started sliding on my feet on a smooth, dusty section of limestone for about 3 meters, only to come to an abrupt stop. When this happened, my tired back somehow took the unexpected force and went into a spasm. I'd been moving up and down in these pyramids for the last week with a heavy backpack, and the stress and strain just seemed to have caught up to me. So earlier in the day, I'd overheard someone talking about the scenario whereas somebody has a heart attack in one of these pyramids, and the very real fact that there would be no way to help them. They would likely die, and even removing the body would be a big deal. This conversation played in my head immediately after I blew out my back in this tiny little tunnel. I was on my side, alone, trying to catch my breath and wondering how in the hell I was going to get out of this pyramid. Slowly, I managed to roll onto my stomach and then onto my hands and knees. I knew I was on my own, and I slowly hobbled and crawled out in excruciating pain. If you've ever been there, you know exactly what I was experiencing.
Woo. Okay. Oh my God. Woo. Oh. Oh my God. I don't know what's in here. More stuff going on there. Oh, this has got a lot of stuff going on in this. Okay, there's some writing discovered. Okay, so this is terrifying right here. This block, this piece of wood here is the only thing that's keeping this block here. So see this block? If you take this wood out, if you cut that wood, this block would come down and block this passageway. So yeah, we don't want to do that. All right. Wow, okay.
Now, like all good adventures, the last room is where the best stuff is hidden. This final chamber resembles a similar enclosure at the step pyramid, with a rough ceiling, a shaft, and a box built of granite lintels down at the base. Let's talk about these insane boxes. They're made out of huge granite lintels. I wonder if they were repurposed, though, as there are descriptions from Herodotus of large amounts of these granite lintels being scattered around Giza. Try to find some information on these, and you'll see these extremely interesting assemblages have very little information about them. I'll continue to dig in on these. Apparently, they were supposed to contain the organs of the entombed royalties. But try to find any actual physical evidence of this, and it quickly becomes a cat chasing its tail. Still, these are crazy to see in person. If you stuck with me through this adventure, thank you so much for watching. And if you like this content and you wish to support me in this work, please click the like button, subscribe to this community, comment below, and if you're able to help me fund more research like this, please consider making a purchase or any other form of support listed in the links in the description below. Thanks again, and I wish you the best on your adventures. There's much to read about the early exploration and analysis on this pyramid. I wonder if anything is actually below this. I read that the upper area was corbelled and then broke, leaving this existing state. This would be interesting, but I don't see the damage to the wood beams below. There was a floor apparently, so maybe this prevented the damage. All in all, this is a very interesting structure, Very interesting space, and it definitely deserves a visit if you get the opportunity to check this out. This is an amazing experience to go inside this pyramid. Really more going on here. The bats. And I know there's another, I've heard that there is another exit here. There's a hole that goes out the side up on the top part of the pyramid. I don't want to go out there. Folks, I'm about to blow up my back in this hole. Kind of interesting. Kind of fried my back. One of those little tunnels up there. And I've been working on in the bent pyramid right now. And I've been working on I've been going up and down these pyramids in a squat position on just using my legs, and my back is just, I like slipped and just kind of dinged my back. So now I'm climbing up this steep incline, and I'm on all fours. It's actually really comfortable. It's almost like these passages were created for something that was